Sometimes people underestimate Supermodel. Do not forget about that kite. It is an amazingly good kite. Hello everyone, it's Kevin Langeree here. I'm very glad that you've been tuning into the Reedin Designer Talks. Today we're gonna be talking about Supermodel A.F.T. We're gonna talk about a lot of cool things, and of course the designer himself is right here, Damien Girardin. We're gonna talk about what's new and why Supermodel does it. Let's get straight into it. So Supermodel has been in our range since the very beginning when we started Reedin, and it has been such a successful kite all around the world. It doesn't matter what kind of discipline you ride, whether it is freestyle, free ride, big air, wave riding, foiling, Supermodel does it.
Yeah, I mean, I was just, when I heard you say the kite does it, and I would like to remind that the inspiration was kind of like the way you kite, the way you've been kiting, the way you've been traveling.
Yeah.
Like you want to have one kite, you have your waveboard, you have your twin tip, you have your foil, you have your whatever conditions. It's like when Cape Town right now, there's some days it's wave, some days it's flat, and you kind of don't have to change your kite. You get used to the feeling of that kite. So the whole idea since we started was like, let's get a kite that really is truly working in every conditions all the time. And I always like to refer to you as like the super kiter. You kite like everybody, but just at a higher level. So, you making the kite work for you at your level was the goal. So then we know for everybody else is going to work for everything. So that was really the main inspiration from 7 years ago when we started. And I always also agreed, like, being on Maui, it's not everyday waves, but you want to have one kite switchboard depending on what you want to do. Which, by the way, I'm talking about switching boards, but pretty soon we're not going to be switching board. But that's for another discussion later.
I love your excitement, and I think that's also something that gets me excited every time we start working on a new Supermodel. When we come up with a new design on the Supermodel, I get some questions like, "Yeah, but you can never ever make that Supermodel better every year. Like it's just a marketing stunt." Is that really true?
Well, it's not, and since we started the company, our thing is like if a product's already there, we don't need to make it again. So we're only going to launch something if we're stoked and excited that we know it's better. Yeah.
Supermodel A.F.T is the new thing, but what happened to HTF?
We have a new leading edge material called Aerolite, and this material is quite light. But it's mainly the characteristic of it. It's a high tenacity polyester weave, and what the high tenacity brings is a lot of very quick rebound from the material itself.
And what does that do when I fly the kite?
Well, when you fly the kite, what it does is, remember last year we had the HTF construction, so we had a stiffer center part of the leading edge, and we had like a more twisty part of the leading edge in the wingtip where you wanted more twist. Well, the beauty with this new material is it has a good twist to it because of the way it's weaved, so you can twist it really well, which makes a very good turning. But because it's a high tenacity polyester, in the axis of the yarns, it's actually pretty stiff. So you get the stiffness in bending of our high stiff leading edge we had, and you get the twisting of our HTF construction. So now that's why it's only one material, because it's really the best of both worlds. This material
it still keeps the stiffness to the profile. But if I want to turn the kite, it does twist. Yeah. So that's actually what you want, right?
Exactly. And it also doesn't take on as much water as some other materials. So when you drop the kite, it stays dry, so it stays light. But yeah, this material is really one of the reasons the kites have like stepped on big time in terms of like flying characteristics. And it's a material that is really a high-end material, but we still have it in a price point that's, very accessible in terms of where the kite market is today. So we're very happy to have such a high-end material in well-priced kite.
Would you say it's the kite that's best value for your money?
I have no doubt about it, that it is the best value kite you can get on the market today, for sure.
So this is the 7th Supermodel we ever made, and I know every year we keep improving it. But what were the design goals for this year's Supermodel A.F.T? Well,
the main goal was, like when you look at the one we had last year, like there was such an improvement in terms of like how good that thing turns and engaged the turn. Like we were really happy on that. I was really good. So this year, like in terms of like turning, I think we didn't have to change anything. One thing that I thought we wanted to improve even more, especially knowing that our range of kites has grown, is to make it even more forgiving. So rebalancing the bridles, so you got more deep power, like you can handle better the gust. That was one thing, and then saving weight.
Up to a point where the kite is extremely light, and you can really notice that when you're flying. But what's the main step you did for Supermodel A.F.T to make it, you know, even a better kite than last year?
Well, working with Brainchild on some other models, Brainchild technology has allowed us to make the lightest kites in industry. That's, you know, something that now we're very proud of. But then it kind of pushed me to be like, oh, what can we do keeping classic, you know, regular sewn-on construction, and let's see what we can save on these, because now when you look at it, you're like, well, the kites get so much better. We're saving weight on the Brainchild kites. Maybe we can do the same on the non-Brainchild made kites, and that's really what I've done. I went to the factory, kind of look at all the parts of a kite that make a kite. Like there's hundreds of pieces, and look at everything and question, like, do we really need that thing? You know, it's always like the past 20 years that I've made kite, there was a little patch here. What was it there again?
But then I'm going to ask the first question, which I hear quite a lot. But is the quality and the durability? Well, is that going to be, you know, taking stuff away? I'm assuming that your durability and goes down, right?
Exactly, and that's why you got to look at it in a smart way. You like question every part, and you're like, why was it here? Oh, it actually makes no sense. That piece we can get rid of it because the stitching is certain way. You don't actually need that part. And then we made the sample. We save weight. And so, you know, that was one thing, one way of saving weight. Also another way of saving weight was like kind of reducing the amount of panels, something we started on Hypermodel last year. We continued with SUPERMODEL with making the lightest big kite ever made. And then on SUPERMODEL, I was like, well, there's some panels we need to get the proper arc, but maybe in some places, so we got rid of one panel in the wingtip. When you get rid of panels, you're saving weight because you have less junction, less seams, less reinforcement, less glue.
Why would I want a lighter kite?
Exactly.
Like,
why would you want a lighter kite?
Yeah.
Well, lighter kite does a lot of things. First of all, because it's lighter, it's going to fly better, right? So in lighter wind, it's going to stay up in the air better. You have less inertia when you're turning, so when you're going from one direction to another, it's going to be quicker.
And what does that do? How could I feel that as a normal consumer when my kite is lighter? What do I feel on the bar, for example, when I jump?
Well, you redirect your kite better.
Yeah.
So let's say you want to engage a jump.
Yeah.
You're going to be more precise. The kite's going to be in the position you want it right away. So you're going to get a better yank out of your first part of your jump.
Does that mean I'm going to jump bigger on the new?
It's going to be easier to go high right away, right?
Okay.
And then the kite being lighter, it's more efficient. There's less weight in the kite that's taking it down. There's more energy pushing it up. So you're actually going to, you know, jump higher because the kite's.
Is it going to keep you higher up in the air as well, or like on the way down? Is that
the new kite does it. That's one of the things we focused on, but that was more coming from the new bridles. The new bridles, the idea with like making them more versatile was also to get a kite that would, like when you do your heli loop, or not even your heli loop, but just when you're sending the kite the other way around, you get that, you know, that second lift that everybody's looking.
That's something I
it's always
really
fun.
love on that Supermodel. You know, you come down, you do a heli loop, and you basically almost go straight up again. It gives you that couple extra seconds in the air, and that's
exactly
that's what I really love.
And also,
about
when you look
kite.
at the pros, you know, we did photo shoot a few days ago with Parker, like probably one of the very best in the world, who is, you know, and he was of course he's like so like focused on riding master model because that's the bigger kite, and he was. So he's like riding with us, and then you can see him like we talked when he comes out of the water. He's like, "Whoa, that kite is amazing for bigger too." And then I could see we're watching him ride, and he was like getting all his tricks perfect. That secondly was helping him.
We kind of knew it already, but it's funny that sometimes, you know, now because we have some high performing kites like the Master Model and the Hypermodel, sometimes people underestimate Supermodel, and which I think, you know, do not forget about that kite. It is an amazingly good kite.
Yeah, I mean, you jump, I believe, 30-something meters on it. 33 meters.
Yeah. It's
a little while ago. That kind of has some jumping potential for sure.
Yeah.
But like I said, you know, it's also partly the easiest kite that you'll get to kite on. So that's really
and that's
perfect.
The key feature why I like Supermodel so much. You know, that easiness. You know, you can just hook in with your eyes closed, and you know exactly always where that kite is. I feel like the balance between, you know, the having heavy and light bar pressure, the balance is just perfect.
Yeah, and
you
also
know exactly always where the kite is. It's much easier in higher winds, better controllable, and that easiness gives me a lot of comfort to try new tricks and, you know, jump high. Because I know that kite is going to do exactly what I want it to do.
Yep, I couldn't have seen it any better.
All right, Damien, thank you so much for explaining us all the new design features of Supermodel A.F.T. If you want to get a new kite, go to your local kite store. They have them on stock. In case you don't have a local kite store, don't worry, because you can go to Reedin.com. We do worldwide free shipping, and I hope to see you on the water riding new Supermodel A.F.T. Later.
Later.